trình về chương trình định cư, đầu tư định cư Úc cho cả gia đình của mình. Đến với hội thảo lần này, Prospero xin vui mừng giới thiệu với các anh chị, các khách mời ngày hôm nay. Thứ nhất là ông Gray Markin, là trưởng cơ quan di trú của chính quyền tiểu bang Queensland. Giới thiệu về luật sư di trú, chúng ta có sự tham gia của ông Robin Yan và chị Minh Nguyễn đến từ văn phòng luật sư Aston Legal, và có sự tham gia của CEO của Prospero Solution là anh John Huỳnh. Và để không mất thời gian của quý vị và các anh chị, thì chúng ta sẽ bắt đầu chương trình với phần giới thiệu về các điều kiện về chương trình visa đầu tư 188A và 188B đến từ ông Robin Yan, luật sư di trú của văn phòng luật sư Aston Legal. So, hi Robin, can you your turn and you can I will share your PowerPoint now.
Great.
Okay, you can see your.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for making the time to attend this webinar. And thank you, John from Prospero, for organizing this. And thank you also to Greg from the Queensland from the Queensland migration team to join us in presenting to our potential clients from Vietnam. So as Annie mentioned earlier, today's presentation will focus on business migration program, specifically how the Queensland government's nomination criteria are, and what opportunities there are in Queensland. So just a very brief introduction about Ashton Legal Services. We are a Sydney-based law firm specializing in Australia-bound migration work. So at the moment, the focus of our work is in business investment and innovation program, as well as the global talent program. We also assist Australian businesses as well as international businesses who want to come to Australia to set up their branches or subsidiaries here with their employer-nominated visas as well. A little bit about myself. I am a legal practitioner, so a solicitor based in Sydney. I am admitted to practice in the High Court of Australia as well as New South Wales Supreme Court. My focus has been migration. So since I started working in migration, it's more than 10 years ago. And I have previously worked for a large international auditing financial services company, and then more recently I am working in my own legal practice. So I have assisted quite a lot of clients from all over the world in business migration, global talent visa, as well as other visa programs. We've also got a colleague who is a registered migration agent, Min. I'll just hand over to Min and she can introduce herself.
Thank you, Robin. Hi, everyone. So my name is Minh Nguyễn. My background is Vietnamese, and I can speak Vietnamese, but I'd like to ask your permission to do this in English just for continuity. So I am Vietnamese-born Australian. My family migrated to Australia when I was 5 years old, so I was still very young. But I have been within the Australian migration law and practice for about 10 years. I started first in the Department of Home Affairs back in 2012 and was working there as a APS 5 team leader in the Sydney Service Centre for about 4 years. And then I decided to do the graduate certificate in migration law and practice and then go into the private sector. So I've been working with Robin since, well, we've known each other since 2017. And we've been working together at Ashton Legal since 2020. We do specialise, as Robin said, in a lot of business investment visa program, global talent and employer-sponsored visas. But yes, it's good to be helping people directly. And I think my knowledge working within the Department of Home Affairs has given us a sort of an advantage because I am able to understand the way that immigration policy works, how it's applied, and we're better able to assist our clients. So for today's webinar, we are just focusing on the business investment program with particular focus on 188A, which is now 188BI for business innovation, and 188B, which is now 188I for investor visas. But it is also comprised of the significant investor visas, which is 188C, now 188I, and the entrepreneur visa stream, so 188E, which remains the same. In terms of business innovation visa, so 188A, so it's a provisional visa, first of all, so it's not permanent residency. It's provisional visa granted for up to 5 years. You have to be under 55 years of age. If you're not, it is possible to still apply, but you do have to prove exceptional economic benefit to Australia for 2 out of the 4 fiscal years before the time of invitation. You must show that you have business ownership of at least 30% in an established main business with annual turnover in each of the 2 out of the 4 years of 750,000 Australian dollars, and have direct and active involvement in managing that business. The net business and personal assets need to be at least 1.25 million Australian dollars. That's lawfully acquired and unencumbered, and can be transferred to Australia within at least the first 2 years of after the visa is granted. You must score at least 65 points. It is a points-based system, and we'll touch on that briefly later on in the webinar. And the key thing is you have to be nominated by a state and territory government. So today, Greg will go through what the Queensland state nomination requirements are for 188A. In addition to that, once you are invited and approved by the state government and you apply for the visa, you must meet certain health and character requirements, as well as demonstrating that you have functional English. If you don't have functional English, there is an option to pay a second instalment, which is listed there as around 10,000 for the main applicant and 5,000 for secondary applicants over 18 who do not have functional English. For the 188B, again, it's a provisional visa. It requires you to invest at least 2.5 million in Australian complying significant investment, which is held for the duration of the visa, so 5 years, and maintain business investment activity in Australia. The eligibility criteria, again, you have to be under 55 unless there's exception.
Min, you've muted yourself.
Sorry, I do apologize. So eligibility, 1 out of the 5 years before invitation, you have to show that you've got experience and direct involvement in managing 1 or more qualifying businesses with at least 10% ownership interest and an eligible investment of at least 2.25 million Australian dollars. You have to show at least 3 years experience in managing that eligible investment or qualifying business, high level of management skills, successful record of investment and management experience. Your net business and personal assets must be at least or greater than 2.5 million Australian dollars in the 2 years prior to 2 fiscal years immediately prior to being invited to apply for the visa. Again, it's points tested. It involves state nomination. You do have to meet health and character requirements, and there is also that functional English requirement as well. Over to you, Robin, for the 188C and E. Your mic is muted, yeah.
Okay, so for the 2 streams that Min just mentioned earlier, the Business Innovation and Investor Program, they require the visa applicant to spend significant amount of time in Australia to qualify for the 888 visa, which is the permanent visa. After 5 years after you get the 188 visa. The significant investor visa, on the other hand, allows the visa holder, the 188 visa holder, to spend significantly less time in Australia during the qualifying period for the 888 visa. They only need to spend about 40 days a year, or cumulatively 160 days for the main applicant over the 4-year period. However, it does require the main applicant to invest a lot more in terms of a dollar value into complying investment, significant complying investment in Australia. It also needs to be nominated by a state government. One thing that is different from the earlier 2 streams that Min had discussed earlier is that this visa, or this stream, the significant investor stream, does not require the visa applicant to meet the points test. And also there's no age limit. So for clients who have $5 million to invest, as long as they can demonstrate that the source of funds are clear, lawfully acquired, then they can be eligible for this visa. Also, there's no requirement for them to have any business management or investment management history. The key is that the $5 million are lawfully acquired, and it's available for investment into a fund that is compliant. The next one is the entrepreneur visa. Entrepreneur visa, also under the 188 subclass, is a visa that is more forward-looking. So for the 188 business innovation, it looks at a history of the visa applicant's business achievement or investment achievements in the past. For the entrepreneur visa, the focus is on the candidate's capacity or capability to develop, commercialize a product or service in Australia, or develop an enterprise that is going to be of benefit to Australia. So it excludes some business activities such as real estate development, labor hire, or purchasing an existing business or franchise in Australia. But this is a relatively new program as compared to the business innovation. And it is popular in a sense that, it's forward-looking. So with potential clients with potentials where immigration can see that, and they will not need to demonstrate a very successful business history. But again, this is a provisional visa. Once you get this visa, you'll have to come to Australia, set up a business, run the business, and to be very successful in order to qualify the permanent stage visa. Okay, I'll hand over to Min.
Thank you. I mentioned before, the 188 visas are points tested. So I'll just show you briefly. Annie, can you click on the PDF?
Yes, okay. So we meet. Oh.
So just while we're waiting, the points test is based on things like your age qualifications. So certain age brackets will attract different number of points, your English language proficiency, as well as...
Sorry, maybe some error for the file. So can you share your screen about the contest?
Yep, I can do that. So these are the categories in which you can claim your points. So the minimum needs to add up to 65 points at least, and different age brackets here will attract different point score. So age, if you're under 33 and between, not less than 25 and under 33 is the highest points of 30. Then you've got your English language qualification, educational qualifications. If you've got a degree that's related, a bachelor degree or trade qualification, it attracts 5 points. Bachelor degree in business, science or technology is 10 points. So I won't go through everything, but you can see that there's different categories. So business experience, if you've got at least 4 years in the last 5 years before you're invited to apply. That's 10 points. So what we will do is when we consult with clients, we will go through the points test and have a look at clients' documents to see what points that they can claim. There's also investor experience qualifications, financial assets, and so long as it adds up to a minimum of 65, then clients will then be able to go through to the next stage, which is submitting an expression of interest. After the expression of interest, then it is a matter of seeking state nomination. So we would also need to assess whether or not, depending on which state you go to, whether or not you would meet the state requirements. So Greg from Migration Queensland will go through that with you shortly. So let me just close this. If we go back to the slides, so I just touched briefly on the workflow process. The initial step is the consultation and engagement. We will then have a look at your documents and give you advice if you meet the eligibility for any of the streams, submit the expression of interest, receive invitation from the state. Once that invitation is received, then we help you to prepare the state nomination. Once the state nomination is approved, then we receive the invitation to apply for the visa, and that's when we submit the visa application. So I will hand over to Greg to go through the state nomination requirements with a focus on particularly the 188A and 188B, but I think he will also touch on significant investor and entrepreneur visas.
Thank you, Min. Thank you, Robin. Also like to thank Prospero and Ashton Legal for featuring Queensland today. Great to be here with you. I understand many of you have an association with the military bank in Vietnam. Great to have you on board today as well. So I'm here today to talk to you about the Queensland migration program in the business program. And I look forward to your questions later on. Hopefully you have some for us. So just while we're waiting for my presentation to come up there, my name is Greg McKean. I'm the manager of Migration Queensland. We are the state nominating body in the Queensland government to the Commonwealth Government state nominated visa program. And so if you wish to have a business visa in Queensland, you must come through my organisation through that process. Vietnam has been a very important market for Queensland over the last 3 to 4 years. Since I've been doing this role since 2015, Vietnam has grown from a very small number to being around 15 to 20% of our business each year. So significant growth in that area. I've visited Vietnam many times now, have a good understanding of the country and a good understanding, of course, how we can help you with your business mission to come and live and invest here in Australia and from my perspective, particularly in Queensland. We're almost getting there, I think. So we've obviously had 2 years of the COVID period, which has meant there hasn't been the opportunity for people in Vietnam to come here and see what Australia is like, see what Queensland is like. So I would encourage you, now that the borders, international borders are open here in Australia, I'd encourage you over the next 6 months to a year to come and plan a holiday here. Visit all the states, because then you get an idea of which state is going to suit you and your family best. But I would certainly encourage you to come to Australia's tourism capital, which is Queensland. We have a number of wonderful tourism sites up and down our coastline here. We have wonderful weather, 300 days of sunshine each year, and of course a lot warmer in the winter months than our brothers and sisters down in Sydney and Melbourne. So I'll just get on with generally telling you a bit about Queensland itself. One of the benefits of setting up your business and setting up your lifestyle here in Queensland is housing. It's one of the first major investments you'll probably make during your migration here to Australia. And Queensland and Brisbane particularly, compared to Sydney and Melbourne, is around half the price of the average house in the southern states. So okay, thanks Annie. Yep, that's where we're up to. So you can see our slide here. You see New South Wales average around, it's really around about the million mark now for the average house in Sydney. Victoria, maybe just about a bit under 800,000. Brisbane, slightly more expensive again, around about 600,000, but still relative to the southern states, there's a great advantage for you to set up your lifestyle here in Queensland itself. So just to make sure, Min, we're not doing translation, are we? I'm just going through the process here. Yeah. Okay, there you can see some diagrams of Brisbane that's currently under construction and due to start construction. So the one on the top left-hand side, that's the brand new Brisbane Entertainment Centre, which will house around 20,000 people in a indoor-outdoor setting. It will be state-of-the-art facility for international acts to come and present here in Queensland itself, right in the centre of the city. The next picture graphic, sorry. The next graphic, you can see Brisbane City. So my building is the building that's on the far right-hand side. So that's the Queensland Government building. It's about 3 years old now. The buildings that are right beside us are currently under construction, and that's called the Queen's Wharf project in general. So it'll house the new Brisbane casino, state-of-the-art casino, tourism, restaurants, entertainment precinct will be, and also, of course, a bridge going directly into the casino from our arts area at South Bank on the other side of the river. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, just quickly now into some of our major industries here. Obviously, the food and agribusiness industry. Hopefully you would have had some Queensland Australian beef at some stage. Also, our famous seafood as well. We have a major export industry in the horticulture area. So a major industry for Queensland. For Australia. Queensland has 50% of Australia's beef herd. We produce over 30% of Australia's horticultural process, and we also have a large and increasing manufacturing industry to value add that fresh produce into products that are exported around the world. Next slide. And there you can see the different areas where our major products have gone. Vietnam actually does have livestock come into it, so our fresh beef gets delivered to you there. And of course, many other of our great produce end up in Vietnam's best restaurants as well. Next slide, please. The Queensland Government has an objective to be 50% reliant on renewable energy by 2030. We are well on the way to achieving that goal. Just 5 years ago, our reliance on renewable energy was 7%, and we are now 4 years later up to 20%. So we believe in the next 10 years that will be an achievable goal. So there is enormous investment opportunities available in the renewable energy sector here in Queensland at the moment, from solar power farms, from wind farms, and also there'll be the opportunity to trade hydroelectricity as well. So it's certainly one of the industries of the future. And of course, Queensland being such a huge state, has lots of sunshine each year, a monsoonal rain up the north, we definitely have the climate to invest in renewable energy. As I mentioned at the start of my presentation, please come to Australia, book a holiday for yourselves and your family. We have some wonderful tourist venues here in Queensland itself. In normal years, pre-pandemic, we would have 22 million international interstate tourists come to Queensland, a major industry for us, around $28 billion to the local economy, a major investment opportunity, I think, for people in this industry. If you run hotels, motels, restaurants, tourism parks, you have that type of background, then I believe there's some great opportunities in the future for Queensland, especially as the tourism industry ramps up here again in the near future. And there's just one of our terrific places, Whitehaven Beach, up in the Whitsunday area. In fact, I head there with my family in the next week or so. School holidays start here in Queensland, so looking forward to having a holiday there myself. Next slide, please. International education, very important. Vietnam is a growing market for our international education industry. Now that borders are open again, we'd love to see students come come into our 10 institutions, our 10 universities here in Queensland. In normal years, we'd have around about 80 to 100,000 international students at our 10 universities here in Queensland, and we look forward to that marketplace returning again. And this time, I would like to see an increase in Vietnamese students from Vietnam participating in this sector. Next slide, thanks. And there you can see the universities. The Great Southeast in Brisbane has the University of Queensland, now in the top 50 universities in the world. University of Technology and the Griffith University in the top 200 universities in the world. And of course, right up the top there, Townsville and Cairns, the James Cook University, world-renowned university in researching tropical medicine, tropical biotechnology, etc. So you and your children can get a first-class tertiary education here in Queensland. Obviously, our health industry is very important. The University of Queensland's Health Research Centre played a major part in developing the COVID-19 vaccine and is in the process now of developing further vaccines for the variants of the COVID-19. So Queensland and Australia will be at the forefront of developing vaccinations for the virus in the coming years and decades ahead. The major areas that we look at in the health industry for investment: biotechnology, medical devices. We also look at sports medicine, pharmaceuticals, and in terms of looking after the elderly and for the children, we have a very sophisticated aged care industry here, and also for youngsters at the other end of life's journey, wonderful childcare services as well. Next slide, please. Okay, there's my city, Brisbane, at night time. As I mentioned, my building, sorry, just go back for a sec. Sorry, my building is the one on the top right-hand side there. And you've got the Brisbane River in front. The new casino is being built right beside my building. And on the other side of the river, that's our arts area. So the Queensland Museum, the Performing Arts Centre, and theme parks and restaurants there as well. Next slide. Okay, next slide. Now, Brisbane is known as a river city. The river snakes from the port of Brisbane all the way through to the city of Ipswich. We have the main CBD area of Brisbane is really being developed to be our business hub, our tourism hub, wonderful restaurants and bikeways, walkways all the way along the river. Some 40 kilometres of those enables a great perspective to get to know our city. Next slide, thanks. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, one of the major announcements for the city of Brisbane, it just announced recently, was that Brisbane will host the 2032 Olympic Games. So a great opportunity for our city to be profiled around the world. A significant amount of infrastructure expenditure now is going to be brought forward to the city of Brisbane. We will be one of the most modern cities in the world by the time the Olympic Games comes to here, and we look forward to welcoming you to come and live and work here in the meantime, so that yourselves and your family will be able to cash in on the major investment that'll be happening in our city. Next slide. Just a bit of research that's happened since the announcement was made. The Olympic Games will bring around $17 billion worth of investment into Australia, and approximately half of that, 50%, will be invested in Queensland. So, and that's brand new investment coming into the state, into Australia. So, great opportunity for you to be a part of that investment profile. All right, now for our business nomination program. Next slide, please. Now, as Min and Robin went through, the Queensland Government is a state nominating body for the business program. There are the 4 visa categories that we will nominate for. Next slide, please. Queensland requirements for this particular visa, the innovation visa 188A, 1.25 million to be transferred to Queensland during the life of your provisional visa, of which a minimum 400,000 needs to be invested in Brisbane City itself, Brisbane and the Gold Coast. If you're going to invest in a regional area of Queensland, the minimum investment is 300,000. And Min has been through the other requirements there. Next slide, please. You've already heard about the 188B visa, the investor visa, $2.5 million invested into a complying investment framework, and there are a number of fund managers that we can direct you to for that investment process. In addition, for Queensland requirements, we need another 500,000 to be invested either in your house to live in or in another business here in Queensland. Next slide, please. The $5 million significant investor visa, we don't require any additional investment, although we'd like to see, of course, that eventually you and your family live here and invest here as well. So no particular requirements for that. Next slide, please. And the entrepreneur visa, Queensland has yet to actually develop its criteria for the entrepreneur visa, and we'll be releasing that for the next program year on the 1st of July 2022-23. Next slide, please. Now, when you've received the Queensland nomination, you've finally got your visa grant and you've arrived here in Queensland, we offer a number of settlement services to you. One will be introductories to local legal providers, accountants, financial firms, real estates, etc., so that you can start your journey of fitting into the local business community. Next slide, please. We also hold investor road trips. This one but here was for, once again, a number of our Vietnamese migrants who've just settled here. That was for the International Beef 2021 conference in Rockhampton, and that was a wonderful event. And subsequent to that event, a number of those people there invested into cattle farms themselves and also into offtake meat products that will then go back to Vietnam. Next slide, please. So that's the end of my presentation. I hope that's been a bit informative. It's been very quick. I know we have limited time, but I wanted to make sure we left enough time for questions and answers, which I hope we'll get some good ones. So thank you very much for your time. Once again, encourage you to come and visit Australia as soon as you can, and certainly make Queensland one of your stops. I make an open invitation for anyone on the line today that if you come to Brisbane, please come and see me personally. I'd love to meet you and talk about the migration program face to face. Thank you.
Yes, thank you Ray for your presentation. So that để tiếp tục chương trình thì xin mời anh John Huỳnh, đại diện của công ty Prospero sẽ giới thiệu với các bạn một vài số thông tin nha.
Xin chào các bạn. Thank you very much for Robin, for Min, and for Greg to introduce about the investment migration program of Australia and also in the Queensland. And I think Greg introduced amazingly about the Queensland, about the sectors that are encouraging the investor to come to invest into Queensland. So I will speak in Vietnamese with the audience a bit before we come to the Q&A section. Xin kính chào tất cả các quý vị tham gia buổi hội thảo ngày hôm nay của Prospero Solution phối hợp tổ chức cùng với là chính quyền tiểu bang Queensland và công ty luật Astor Legal là một đối tác chiến lược của Prospero Solution. Thì như quý vị cũng đã biết thì Prospero Solution cũng đã hoạt động trong lĩnh vực hỗ trợ các nhà đầu tư và về hồ sơ di trú cũng như các cơ hội làm ăn kinh doanh tại các nước, đặc biệt là Úc và Canada. Thì hôm nay thì chúng tôi muốn giới thiệu qua cái phần vừa rồi quý vị cũng đã theo dõi đó, thì chúng tôi cũng muốn giới thiệu đến quý vị cái chương trình visa đầu tư của Úc 188 mà quý vị thường ở Việt Nam thì hay biết với các tên là 188A, 188B, 188C, 188D, 188E. Thì đó là những chương trình mà vừa rồi quý vị đã nghe công ty tại chỗ văn phòng luật Astor Legal của luật sư Robin và Minh đã giới thiệu với quý vị. Đối với cái chương trình di trú thì chúng ta cũng biết qua cái lời giới thiệu của Astor Legal thì chúng ta cũng biết rằng là ngoài cái việc làm hồ sơ di trú thì còn cái việc mà làm ăn, việc mà chúng ta như Việt Nam chúng ta hay gọi là làm ăn, mở doanh nghiệp làm như thế nào. Thì chúng tôi cũng hôm nay cũng có phần của ông Greg đó là chuyên viên là làm viên chức của chính quyền tiểu bang Queensland, cũng đã giới thiệu với quý vị về tiểu bang Queensland, một số cái về thành phố Brisbane là thủ phủ của tiểu bang Queensland. Thì bản thân tôi cũng là người đang sinh sống tại thành phố Brisbane, tiểu bang Queensland. Thì quý vị cũng thấy là tiểu bang Queensland họ cũng đang rất là khuyến khích các nhà đầu tư đến Úc để mà tham gia cái việc đầu tư và định cư tại Úc, đặc biệt là tiểu bang Queensland. Tiểu bang Queensland đó thì chúng ta cũng thấy rằng họ có rất là nhiều cái cơ hội đầu tư, đặc biệt là trong các lĩnh vực mới như là năng lượng tái tạo, như là xây dựng du lịch vân vân, các khu resort, khu du lịch nghỉ dưỡng, chứ không phải chỉ là những cái cơ hội đầu tư vào những cái doanh nghiệp như trước giờ chúng ta hay thấy, ví dụ như đầu tư vào nhà hàng, quán ăn, cà phê, takeaway, hay là các tiệm nail, mà là có những cái cơ hội đầu tư rất là mới mẻ. Và Prospero Solution và đặc biệt là bản thân tôi thì chúng tôi là đang hỗ trợ cho các khách hàng trong cái chuyện mà sang đây, tại vì ngoài cái việc làm hồ sơ di trú thành công thì cái vấn đề về mặt kinh doanh cũng là một cái vấn đề rất là quan trọng đối với lại một cái bộ hồ sơ di trú. Tại vì là khi các bạn thấy rằng để mà đạt được cái thường trú nhân thì tất cả các visa của Úc hiện giờ về đầu tư đều là tạm thời tạm trú. Thì để được lên thường trú nhân thì chúng ta phải các nhà đầu tư phải thực hiện đúng những cam kết về đầu tư, về mở doanh nghiệp. Thì trong quá trình đầu tư mở doanh nghiệp thì chắc chắn sẽ có rất là nhiều cái vấn đề mà khách hàng, tức là những nhà đầu tư cần hỗ trợ. Ví dụ như là đầu tư vào lĩnh vực nào, đầu tư như thế nào, cái hình thức đầu tư là liên doanh hay là tự mình đứng ra trong cổ phần, hay là liên doanh với các đối tác khác, hay là mua lại doanh nghiệp, vân vân, và đầu tư như thế nào, trong lĩnh vực nào, rồi các vấn đề về pháp lý trong quá trình xây dựng doanh nghiệp, quá trình vận hành doanh nghiệp, các vấn đề về thuế, vấn đề về kế toán, tài chính, rồi mở rộng thị trường, rồi nhà cung cấp, rồi xuất nhập khẩu, vân vân. Thì rất là nhiều cái vấn đề. Thì Prospero Solution của chúng tôi là chuyên tư vấn để mà hỗ trợ quý vị, các khách hàng trong cái bước mà sau khi đã có visa và sau khi nó landing tại Úc thì là sẽ làm như thế nào để mình đạt trong cái thời gian ngắn nhất mà mình đạt được cái điều kiện của chính quyền của tiểu bang cũng như là của liên bang để mình đạt được cái visa thường trú nhân, để đạt được thường trú nhân. Đó là cái mục đích cuối cùng. Và khi chúng ta được thường trú nhân rồi thì khách hàng vẫn muốn tiếp tục phát triển cái cơ sở kinh doanh đó của mình. Thì đó là cái kinh nghiệm của chúng tôi trong cái việc, và cái đó là cái phạm vi của chúng tôi trong cái việc hỗ trợ khách hàng khi đã có visa và đã landing. Còn trước đó thì chúng tôi cũng sẽ phối hợp với lại Astor Legal để mà chuẩn bị cái hồ sơ di trú cho khách hàng. Thì đó là một vài cái giới thiệu sơ lược về cái công ty Prospero Solution của chúng tôi. Chúng tôi đã liên tục tổ chức những cái buổi hội thảo chuyên đề về để mà cung cấp thêm những thông tin cho các nhà đầu tư đang muốn định cư tại Úc, đặc biệt là tại tiểu bang Queensland. Thì tiểu bang Queensland hiện giờ họ đang rất là khuyến khích, và cái khí hậu của tiểu bang Queensland nó cũng rất là giống với Việt Nam. Lúc nãy em Red có nói đó, thì là nó không có quá lạnh một năm, nó chỉ có khoảng 2 tháng là lạnh nhất, thì khoảng chừng 13-14 độ vào buổi sáng gần sớm thôi, chứ còn ban ngày thì nó cũng khoảng 18-19 độ, 20 độ là maximum. Thì tiểu bang Queensland nó như vậy, thì khí hậu nó rất là tương đồng với Việt Nam. Cái thứ hai nữa là đối với quý vị nào mà quan tâm định cư Úc á, thì nó là cái giờ giấc cũng như là tất cả các vấn đề khác nó sẽ rất là tiện lợi, kể cả khoảng cách. Thì đó là một số cái thông tin. Thì chắc là chúng ta sẽ sang cái phần giải đáp, để chúng ta đặt những câu hỏi cho ban diễn giả gồm có bên Greg và Minh cũng như là tôi, nếu quý vị có những câu hỏi. Rồi, xin cảm ơn quý vị.
Cảm ơn anh John. Thì các quý anh chị đã tham gia chương trình hôm nay, thì mình có bất kỳ câu hỏi nào dành cho luật sư di trú cũng như là chính quyền tiểu bang Queensland cũng như là diễn giả của Prospero, thì các anh chị có thể là giơ tay để em mở mic để mọi người nói, hoặc là mọi người có thể chat vào cái khung chat ở cái phần bên cạnh đó. Thì mọi người có thể đặt câu hỏi để em có thể gửi câu hỏi này đến cho luật sư cũng như chính quyền tiểu bang Queensland. So Greg,
can I just suggest, if you've got any questions for Queensland, ask Greg first, because Greg's got another meeting to go to in about 10 minutes. So we can stay on and ask other questions, but any questions about Queensland, please ask Greg first.
Okay, I have the first question. So about the tax policy for the investor to Queensland. So Greg, can you share me some about the tax policy in Queensland for the investor?
Sorry, Annie, you're asking me to what are the key areas to invest in here in Queensland?
About the tax.
Tax
about
policy.
The tax policy. Yes, sorry.
Oh, tax policy. Oh, well, I'm not a tax agent. I'm not an accountant. I reckon that's I believe that's something that maybe Robin might be better to talk about directly. Queensland taxes are the same in every other state. The Commonwealth is the major taxation entity. The states and territories do have their own ability to tax in certain areas, but I'll hand that over to Robin now to give a more direct answer.
I don't have anything to add to that. We specialize in migration law, so any tax issues, I'm sure John would be able to connect you with a tax lawyer or an accountant who can advise you. But as Greg mentioned, mainly it's the Commonwealth tax. But yeah, please talk to John. John will help you with that.
I have a question for you, Greg, and it comes from our clients who have invested in Queensland. We get frequently asked questions about family members. So main applicant is supported by the Queensland state government. 188A is approved, state nomination, then they apply for the visa. Once the visa is granted, I think a lot of Vietnamese families have children that are already studying in Australia, but they may be studying in Sydney, in Melbourne, in Adelaide, but parents want to invest with Queensland. So after the visa is approved, is it the state's expectation that family members also live in Queensland up until the 888 is put through and granted, or can the main primary applicant still start their business investment in Queensland whilst the children complete their studies elsewhere?
No, that's right, Min. No, we don't have a requirement that the children have to be here in Queensland studying. They can be wherever it's best for them. The only requirement that we have, of course, is the primary applicant being here, being seen to be investing, undertaking the business activity, and that's all that we require.
Thank you very much. Another question that people might be interested in as well. So once Queensland State Government nomination is approved for a particular business plan, so for example, they want to invest $400,000 in establishing a fine dining restaurant, perhaps within Brisbane's newly built casino. The processing timeframe for the 188A at the moment, it's taking quite a long time, so up to 3 years, I believe. Within that 3 years, if their business plans and business intentions change, what would be the process with the state government? What's the expectation for changing business plans?
Exactly. We understand that there's a bit of a lengthy delay at the moment in the visa processing stage. I'm hopeful that the Commonwealth in their budget in the next couple of weeks here will announce some extra resourcing to go into the processing area to get that period down to a much more manageable level. But obviously, it's still going to be a lengthy time. Economies change, interest rates change, so we're very flexible in terms of the business intention in the business program. Should the applicant get here and decide there's a more lucrative part of the economy they wish to participate in, then we certainly allow that to happen. And the process is there's a form on our website, change of business form, that's just filled out to us, sent in to us, and we'll make an assessment and then get back. But for the most part, we mostly approve all of those.
Great, thank you, Greg. I think one of the questions was the timeframe for processing of the 188A. So with the state nomination process, what's the average timeframe for processing the nomination application?
For us at the moment, it's between 2 to 4 weeks. So our part of the process is quite quick. As you mentioned, it's the Commonwealth's part of the process that needs to come down. So provided all of the documentation is valid and certified for your clients, then our process is very quick.
Okay, thank you. Can you just touch on the state nomination process for Queensland? So clients will submit their expression of interest and then visit the Migration Queensland website. there is a expression of interest form on there as well. And then from there, what can the clients expect?
Well, for business clients, we always encourage and recommend that applicants go through a registered migration firm, and such as Ashton Legal, because there are a number of documents that need to be certified properly, and so we would encourage that as a first instance. It's easier for us to negotiate particular information with an agent that understands the process, understands what required. So that's really what we would say there. But the process is quite simple. As a expression of interest is lodged onto the Commonwealth Skilled Select program database. Every day, the Queensland Government, through my organisation, Migration Queensland, picks up that EOI. We then assess it. It goes into my processing team for the business part of the program. They assess the business intention. They assess the investment, and then they make and also they have a look at things like the applicant's wealth and business experience to make sure that they have a genuine business background, so that by the time the application has been approved by us, it's also ready to be submitted to the Commonwealth quite quickly as well.
Thank you, Greg. John, do you get any FAQs, frequently asked questions, from prospective clients about Queensland state nomination?
Yep. I just want to, there are a couple of questions I got during the time work with the clients, the potential client here, is that, like you said, is some of the Queensland government have some of the project like the renewable energy, as well as the something like the resort and like real estate, but in the like new development area, especially in the regional area. So some of the client asked how can they get the information, or at least for my company. So how, where and how can I get the information of the project, because it's very important. Because I got some of our clients, they have the background and they have the experience to do the business in renewable or some of the resorts and stuff. So then how can and where we can get the information from Queensland government about this project? Or
all right, John. Yes, look, there's a number of avenues that we do have here in Trade and Investment Queensland, which is the broader organisation that Migration Queensland is in. So perhaps I can talk to you more a bit offline on that. So we have here in TIQ a number of industry teams which can assist in alerting people to the opportunities that are here for investment, etc. So let's have a chat about that next time you're back in Brisbane, and I'll be able to help you out with your clients in that regard. But anyway, right. My meeting, as I mentioned, is just about to start around me, so I'll sign off. Lovely to hear from you all. Look forward to when the borders are or your airline tickets are ready to come back into Australia, to come and visit us here in Brisbane itself. So thank you very much. Thanks to Ashton Legal. Thanks Prospero for having us, and look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Greg.
Cheers.
see you soon.
How's that for efficiency? Straight into the next one.
Beautiful. 1 minute to go.
I think Megan's online too. She's
Sorry, great. Okay. Mình có những câu hỏi về liên quan đến hồ sơ di trú á. Thì là có khách hàng hỏi là về cái thời gian xét duyệt của visa, thì hiện tại là average thì nó sẽ là tầm trong khoảng thời gian bao nhiêu, và những cái doanh nghiệp mà ở Việt Nam, ví dụ như doanh nghiệp về hộ cá thể kinh doanh thôi, chứ nó không phải là company business, nó chỉ là một kiểu là như household, kinh doanh cá thể tại nhà á, thì có được xét được gọi là doanh nghiệp để tham gia chương trình 1.8A hay không ạ?
Về cái câu hỏi đầu tiên, cái thời gian để mà xét duyệt visa, xét visa không á, thì hiện tại cái thời gian mà khoảng cũng lâu, trong vòng 2 năm tới 3 năm cho 188A, cũng như 188B thì nhanh hơn được một chút, tại vì là đầu tư vô cái Complying Investment Fund. Hồi nãy ông Greg nói là cái thời gian để mà xét cái state nomination, thì sau khi được cái thư mời của bang, mình nộp xong giấy tờ thì bang sẽ xét khoảng 2 tới 4 tuần, rồi xong sau đó là mình có 60 ngày để mình nộp hồ sơ xin visa ở Bộ Di trú, thì cái thời gian xét là 2 tới 3 năm. Robin, the question was the time frame for processing of the 188A visas. So Greg already mentioned the time frame to process state nomination, but the visa itself, it can take up to 3 years at the moment for 188A.
Yes, so in Australia, we have 2 levels of government. There's the state government, there's the federal government. The migration program is administered by the federal government. The state government is a stakeholder in the process. They nominate the candidate. Once the visa application is submitted, the responsibility transfers to the federal government, and it's then up to the federal government to process them. Unless a project is endorsed by the state government for priority processing, the average processing time is about 36 months. As Greg mentioned earlier, if the federal government decides to allocate more resources to process the visa applications, it can stay that long, but if the candidate is able to demonstrate to the state government that you are investing in a project that is in regional area or that is of significant benefit to the state government can request the federal government to process your visa application on a priority basis. So you don't have to wait in the queue, you will be processed ahead of everyone else. Of course, not everyone will get that. The significant investor visa does get priority processing because it's a significant investment of $5 million. But the other, the 2.5 innovation investor visa or the business innovation stream, unless you get priority processing, then it would take quite a long time. The entrepreneur program, Greg said they are going to release the state criteria post or before July next year. Entrepreneur visa also gets priority processing, can get processed within 3 to 6 months. So, if the candidate is, potentially can go through the entrepreneur program, then that is also an option to get priority, to get faster processing.
Okay, thank you. And the other question was individual household businesses. So I think it would be equivalent to sole trader. Phải không anh Hùng? Cái individual household business là không phải là công ty.
Sole trader ở Úc là sole trader, tức là cá thể thì họ
we've done a client. I think we've done a client.
Là thường là họ sẽ đóng thuế khoán. Ví dụ như là đối với Úc á, là sole trader là mình đóng thuế theo doanh thu, nhưng mà sole trader ở Việt Nam á, là thường là người ta đóng thuế khoán, ví dụ một năm là bao nhiêu tiền đó, chứ người ta không có đóng thuế theo doanh thu, thì cái doanh thu đó người ta có doanh thu nhưng mà là người ta sẽ không có thể hiện lên chứng từ, nên là đó là cái bản chất của hộ kinh doanh cá thể Việt Nam.
Sorry, Robin. Yeah, so the question is, can sole trader businesses also apply for the 188A? So this company structure, it doesn't have to be a company.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a company. It can be sole trader, any form of business structure that is recognized by the Vietnamese government. So sole trader, partnership, companies, private companies, public listed companies. So yeah, all of these would be okay. We've done a visa. We've secured a 132 visa for a sole trader from Vietnam previously, so that's fine.
Yeah. Thì sorry mọi người, là kinh doanh cá thể ở bên Việt Nam thì làm được, nhưng mà mình cũng phải đủ cái điều kiện, đạt được cái điều kiện của 188A thì mình phải chứng minh lại cái doanh thu của doanh nghiệp của mình thì là ít nhất phải là 750.000 mỗi năm cho 2 năm trước khi mình nộp đơn xin visa. Có một cái câu hỏi, sau khi cấp được visa thì cả gia đình phải chuyển sang Úc hay là chỉ cần người đứng hồ sơ thôi? So after the visa is granted, does the whole family have to migrate to Australia or just the primary applicant? Sorry, Robin, you go.
Oh, yeah, Min, you can, if you know the answer, you can answer that. But I think there is an expectation for, I mean, if the family, for example, if the kids are studying, they wanted to study overseas, maybe the kids are studying in a third country, UK or US, then there's no expectation that they have to come. It is really about the economic contributions they're going to make to Australia or the nominating state. So Greg mentioned before, and I'm sure it's the same with other states, it's really about whether they are going to realize their commitment to the state by investing in the state. And if they are living in Australia, then where possible, it's preferable that they stay and they all live and work in that particular state that nominated them.
Thank you. Thì sau khi được cấp cái visa bảo lãnh, sau khi được cấp cái visa thì không cần thiết là phải hầu hết gia đình định cư bên Úc, nhưng mà cũng phải có cái mục tiêu là gia đình sang qua bên Úc để mà mở kinh doanh, để đáp ứng cái điều kiện mà bang hỗ trợ để lấy cái visa. Thì nếu mà người đứng đơn đi qua trước để mà lập cái công ty thì ok, rồi xong sau đó gia đình vợ con qua sau thì cũng được. Nhưng mà sau khi cấp cái visa thì chính phủ sẽ cho là 1 năm để đi qua trước, gọi là để mà activate cái visa đó, rồi xong sau đó thì đi qua đi lại bên Úc đi lại bên Việt Nam cũng được. Nhưng mà người đứng đơn hoặc là người vợ hay là người chồng, cái secondary applicant phải là mở cái doanh nghiệp để mà đủ điều kiện sau khi này mình apply cái 888A.
Cảm ơn chị Minh với thư viên. Có một câu hỏi liên quan đến cái việc bảo lãnh của gia đình sau khi mà gia đình này có cái visa 188 qua rồi á, thì khi mà gia đình ở sang Úc kinh doanh theo diện 188 thì sau này người ta có thể bảo lãnh mẹ ruột người ta qua được Úc được hay không? Sẽ là theo diện nào hả chị hả? Có một câu hỏi.
Cái câu hỏi thì nếu mà mình xin cái 188A, mình chỉ được là bao gồm người đứng đơn là người chồng hay là người vợ, cộng với lại partner và mấy đứa con, chứ mình không có được thêm vô người mẹ ruột. Nếu mà bảo lãnh cha mẹ thì mình trước mắt thì mình phải có cái 188A, rồi xong lên thường trú là cái visa 888A. Sau khi mình được cái permanent resident là cái thường trú nhân á, thì mình mới là bảo lãnh cho ba mẹ được. Chứ ở cái giai đoạn 188A thì mình chỉ là bảo lãnh gia đình là vợ chồng với con thôi.
Dạ, ok. Cảm ơn câu trả lời của chị. Một câu hỏi khác liên quan đến cái việc mà khi thời gian xét duyệt từ lúc khách hàng có 188A đến khi khách hàng có cái PR, cái thường trú nhân á, thì là mất khoảng thời gian là bao lâu? Và trong khoảng thời gian 5 năm có tạm trú 188 thì khách hàng có thể vừa đi về giữa Việt Nam và Úc được hay không, hay là phải ở liên tục?
So Roman, the question is the 188 visa. There is a minimum requirement of primary applicant or secondary applicant residing in Australia for a particular amount of time. Can we go through the expected time, residence time for 188A, B, C, and the entrepreneur? Because there's different residence requirements. You've got unmute.
So that's part of the 888 requirement. So for the 888 business innovation, you have to have had the visa for at least 3 years. And then you have to have run the business for at least 2 years, out of which you have to have lived in, you have to have lived in Australia for 1 year at least. And for the 888 investor program, you will have to have lived in Australia for at least 4 years, and at least 2 out of the 4 years, I think. But that's part of the, just give me a second. I think I just wanted to look at the legislation before I confirm these details. I don't want to give incorrect information here. For the significant investor visa, you know, it's, if the main applicant is to stay in Australia, it's 40, you know, it's 160 days in total out of the 4 years. And if it is a secondary applicant living in Australia, it's 180 days for each year of the 4 years. So again, it's a little bit different depending on who is planning to stay in Australia.
Okay.
That's yeah, that's really part of the 888 engagement.
Yeah, but with so after they have the visa 188A in particular as well. So let me just translate. So sau khi mình được cấp cái visa 188A thì mình phải qua bên Úc, rồi xong chuẩn bị hồ sơ để mà xin thường trú nhân là ở cái giai đoạn 888A. Nhưng mà cái visa 188 thì sẽ cấp là 5 năm. Mình phải nắm cái visa đó là ít nhất 3 năm. Trong vòng 3 năm đó là 2 năm mình phải qua Úc hoạt động kinh doanh. Và ở bên Úc là ít nhất là 1 năm trong 2 năm của cái thời gian mình hoạt động kinh doanh. Rồi xong sau 3 năm mình mới là xin Bộ Y trú xét hồ sơ 888A. Yep.
Can I share the like we can share the document for them to have a look, because yep. I don't want them to, I mean, it's also a lot of information. So let me send the information to Annie and in the chat.
Yes, so can you share your screen set now? Or you can send me the document, I will share the document. Ruben, you mute your microphone.
Sorry, I don't want to share. I don't want to, because okay, I've already sent the 888A to Annie. Yeah, I'll send another document. So have a look, open that to have a look and talk to that, and that'll help just to make sure we give the right information.
Okay, you can see the file now.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Next page. So okay, that one is permanent state. A couple of pages up.
Sorry.
One more page up. One more up. One more up. Yes, that's it. Okay. So Minh can talk to that.
Yeah. Sorry quý vị, thì hồi nãy em nói là sau khi được cấp cái visa 188A, mình phải nắm cái visa đó là ít nhất là 3 năm, rồi xong cái thời gian 1 năm trong vòng cái so holder of the 188A visa for 3 years, thì mình nắm cái visa đó là 3 năm. Mình phải hoạt động kinh doanh ít nhất là 2 năm trước khi mình nộp đơn xin cái 888A. Trong vòng 2 năm đó thì là mình phải ở bên Úc là ít nhất 12 tháng để mà quản lý cái doanh nghiệp đó. Trong vòng cái 12 tháng trước khi mình nộp đơn, cái doanh thu của cái business của mình là phải ít nhất là 300.000 đô Úc. Cái tài sản cá nhân cộng với lại tài sản kinh doanh là ít nhất phải là 200.000 trong vòng 12 tháng trước khi mình nộp đơn. Cộng với lại nếu mà mình có thuê người thì thuê ít nhất là phải 2 người nhân viên là có quốc tịch Úc hoặc là có thường trú nhân. Mình không có được thuê người trong gia đình. Rồi cái tài sản cá nhân cộng với lại tài sản kinh doanh là ít nhất phải là 600.000 trong vòng cái 12 tháng trước khi mình nộp đơn. Thì 3 cái điều kiện đó mình phải đáp ứng được at least là ít nhất là 2 cái điều kiện. Thì để trả lời cái câu hỏi của bạn Hưng thì cái thời gian là mình phải ở bên Úc là phải ít nhất là 12 tháng, nhưng mà mình nắm visa là 3 năm, hoạt động kinh doanh là 2 năm. Trong lúc mình nắm cái visa 188A thì mình có thể mình đi qua đi lại vào Úc, hoặc là đi về Việt Nam, hoặc là đi du lịch nước khác thì cũng được. Thì cái visa đó sẽ cấp là 5 năm.
Ok, cảm ơn chị Minh. Vậy các quý vị anh chị mình còn có câu hỏi nào muốn gửi đến luật sư trong thời điểm hiện tại nữa không ạ? Thì mọi người có thể chat câu hỏi, hoặc là sau buổi hội thảo hôm nay thì nhân viên của Prospero sẽ liên hệ các anh chị nếu mình có những cái câu hỏi nào muốn gửi đến luật sư cũng như đến chính quyền tiểu bang Queensland và cần có nhu cầu tìm hiểu sâu hơn về các chương trình định cư Úc theo diện 188A, 188B thì các anh chị và các bạn có thể liên hệ đến với các nhân viên của Prospero để có những cái tư vấn chính xác nhất về các chương trình. Tại mọi người còn có câu hỏi nào nữa không ạ? Anh John, anh có chia sẻ nào trước khi mình kết thúc buổi hội thảo ngày hôm nay không ạ?
Alo.
Nghe.
Nếu chúng ta không còn câu hỏi nào nữa thì chắc là chúng ta sẽ kết thúc cái buổi ngày hôm nay. Thì tôi xin cảm ơn tất cả các quý vị đã vào với buổi sáng hôm nay để mà lắng nghe những cái thông tin chia sẻ về các chương trình định cư Úc theo diện đầu tư cùng với Astro Legal và chính quyền tiểu bang Queensland cùng với Prosper Solution. Hy vọng là chúng tôi sẽ kết nối được quý vị để mà hỗ trợ quý vị trong cái ý định đầu tư định cư tại Úc nói riêng và tại tiểu bang Queensland nói chung. Xin lỗi, tại Úc nói chung và tiểu bang Queensland nói riêng. Xin cảm ơn các quý vị đã theo dõi. Thank you Ruben and Astro Legal and Min to join us today. And hopefully we can have some clients to work with in order to help them to migration and do investment in Australia and in Queensland in particular. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Min. Thank you, Annie.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. If there's if they have any questions, please feel free to send them through John. And we've been working with John for the last couple of years, and we've successfully secured, the permanent visas or other visas for John's clients. So Min is, fluent in Vietnamese, so she can communicate with you directly. And she's also a very experienced migration agent. So I'm sure if you have clients, we'll be able to help them. And look forward to working with you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Goodbye.
Một lần nữa xin cảm ơn các anh chị đã tham gia buổi hội thảo hôm nay. Thì sau buổi hội thảo hôm nay, các anh chị còn có những cái câu hỏi hay là muốn được tư vấn sâu hơn về chương trình 188A và 188B thì các anh chị có thể vui lòng gọi số hotline của Prospero theo số 0333 975 166 để các nhân viên của Prospero có thể tư vấn anh chị một cách chi tiết nhất. Cảm ơn các anh chị và chúc mọi người có ngày làm việc cuối tuần vui vẻ và thật nhiều sức khỏe. Cảm ơn các anh chị ạ.
Thank you, Annie. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you, everybody.
Good weekend.